Welcome back to How to Cake It. This week I'm making a Star Wars cake, and sorry R2, I'm making BB-8. And so he turns away from me. You don't turn away from a princess. Thank you so much to Disney Studios for lending me a life-size replica of the BB-8 droid. I'm gonna use this as my model to make the perfect BB-8 cake. Listen, I already told you, I'm not Yolanda today. I'm Princess Landa. May the Force be with you. The Force. To bake this cake, I needed 10 pounds of my chocolate cake recipe, which I baked in two 8-inch round stainless steel bowls and a 5-inch round half of a sphere pan. As usual, I gave all 3 of my cakes a simple syrup shower. Remember, you can buy my simple syrup bottle. Just click the link in the description below. Simple syrup helps keep this cake moist because it takes a long time to decorate. The BB-8 I made took me 2 days. 2 days! Yes, I have seen how cute you are, but you would have taken me longer. Before I begin to stack my cake, I need to attach a small board to what will be the bottom of the entire BB-8. I've cut a 3-inch round board out of foam core and I punctured a hole right in the middle of that board. And I'm gonna secure it to the bottom of my 8-inch sphere with some melted dark chocolate. Then I flip that cake over and tape the mini board onto a bigger cake board. I need to glue the top half of my sphere to the bottom half, so I'm gonna mix some Italian meringue buttercream to look exactly like BB-8 orange. I do like blue. Once my buttercream is ready, I spread a nice even layer onto the bottom half of my sphere. Then I add the top half of my sphere cake and scrape away any excess buttercream that's coming out of the edges. This is going to be BB-8's body. Now I give this entire ball a crumb coat in white buttercream and put it in the fridge to chill for 20 minutes. Moving on to BB-8's cute little head. Don't leave. Don't leave. I place the flat side down on a 5-inch round cake board that I have cut out of foam core, again with a hole punctured right in the middle. Then I crumb coat BB-8's cute little head with Italian meringue buttercream and pop him in the fridge with his body for 20 minutes. Do you know that his head just like hovers over his body, kind of? That is so wicked. You have to admit that that's cool. I don't see you doing that. I mean, you shake your head a lot, but that's not really the same thing. If you watch How to Cake It, you probably know the deal by now. When my cakes are chilled, I'm gonna ice them one more time and pop them in the fridge to chill again. At this point, you really wanna make sure your cakes are well chilled, because what you're gonna do is wet your hands and smooth out any ridges and imperfections in your buttercream. Where's my lightsaber? Oh, there it is. We can Photoshop this to look like it lights up, right? Perfect, because I'm about to talk about rolling fondant. I roll out some white fondant and cover the half sphere that is his head. It's pretty easy shape to cover because there's not any sharp edges, so just lay your fondant on top and smooth it around with your hands, and then use a fondant smoother at the bottom edge to get that fondant really nice and tight up against the cake before you trim away the excess. And if you need more tips and tricks on how to roll fondant properly, check out my fondant hacks video. There's a link in the description below. Once again, I roll out a large piece of white fondant to go over this entire 8-inch round sphere. You'd be surprised how much fondant you need to tuck underneath a sphere. Of course, I use my fondant lightsaber as always to pick up my large piece of rolled fondant and drape it over my giant sphere cake. And then I start to work from the top down, smoothing that fondant all around the sphere. And when I get down to the bottom, really pulling apart any folds, tucking it under, cutting away excess as I go, but take your time. Then I take a little piece of white fondant in my hand and use that to smooth the actual cake. So I'm rubbing fondant onto fondant. To patch the creases at the bottom of the sphere, I take a little bit of my white fondant, water it down to make what I call a fondant paste, and then I just ice that into any little cracks or grooves down near the base. That's my secret. Is that the planet fondant?
We love the planet fondant on How to Cake It.
Oh, I live on the planet fondant. That's where I was born. Let's put these cakes away and move on to details. Boy, does BB-8 have a lot of them. For the orange details on BB-8, I'm going to use modeling chocolate that I've dyed using buttercup yellow, sunset orange, and ivory gel food coloring. It'll match my buttercream perfectly. For the details that will be silver, I have pre-dyed some fondant with a little bit of black gel color to be a nice deep gray that I will later paint with a silver highlighter. So I roll out my orange modeling chocolate and gray fondant as thinly as possible and place them in the fridge to chill. I found templates of all 6 of BB-8's patterns online, which I printed out to be the size that I need them to be. I'm going to use these templates and a very sharp knife to cut out all of BB-8's details in my orange modeling chocolate and my gray fondant. To cut out all these details, I made use of circle cutters and even piping tips. If you thought Yolanda was detail-oriented, Princess Londa is a whole other level. She's in another galaxy of detail. I'm gonna start by applying the orange circles. Now I need to add all the little indents on the surface of BB-8 that run between the circles. Before putting the gray fondant parts on BB-8, I have to paint them silver. I dust every single part lightly with silver highlighter and a soft paintbrush. Then I place on all these silver parts in their place, making sure to keep a close eye on BB-8. When picking up your luster-coated pieces of fondant, be sure to touch them really lightly. Try not to touch the surface too much because the silver will come off on your hand. But don't worry because BB's a little bit dirty.
Yo, you didn't have to like get every detail.
I know. It's like she's never even met me. Like we just met and you get me, right? You understand. Of course. I didn't have to make every detail. Don't even look at her. Exactly. Don't leave. Just stay. We'll ignore her. It's fine. It's about us. Are you done, Jocelyn?
Sorry.
Did anyone tell George Lucas to leave out all the details in Star Wars? No. He's not even done with the details.
Touche.
Actually, I gotta get back to BB-8. I thought of something. It's time to make BB-8's cute little face. You're cute too. I start once again by cutting out all the details I'll need out of orange modeling chocolate and gray fondant. I also roll out a little bit of black fondant because his head does have some black detail. Unfortunately for BB-8's head, I have no template, so I have to do all of this by eye. Thank goodness. I have such a lovely model. And I even used one of my favorite cake tools that's not even a cake tool. It is an onion chopper that I found in Germany. It's like a pizza cutter all lined up beside each other, and I just roll it over my fondant to get a perfect strip. I still need to make his eyeball. Those are both eyes, right? To make his eyeballs, I'm actually using a tablespoon and a quarter teaspoon that are a really nice half sphere shape. They're very rounded. So I just grease the inside of these spoons with a little bit of vegetable shortening and then press in a bit of black fondant, really press it into the spoon. And then I set them aside to let the fondant set up a little bit. Once the fondant was a little bit stiffer, I used a sharp knife to level that fondant in my spoon and then tapped out both little eyeballs. I set BB-8's eyeballs aside and move on to making both of his antennas. Antennas? Antennae? What is the plural of antenna? I'm using white gum paste for each antenna, and what I do is take a little bit of silver floral wire and I just roll out the gum paste to the right size, insert the wire. That will help my antenna stand upright on BB. And I just recreate the indentations on one of the antenna and then I set these aside to dry. There is a bit of deep dark green around BB's eyes if you look into them. It's gorgeous. And there's a little bit at the base of his large antenna. So I'm gonna roll out that color and get started on those details. To help secure his eyes to his head, I'm gonna use a bamboo skewer and some royal icing. And this is because there's a little bit of weight on these eyes and the cake is circular, so I don't want them falling off. BB has a job to do. He needs both of those eyes. People are gonna leave comments telling me that second one is not an eye. To finish off BB's gorgeous eyes, I'm adding that green detail around both of them, and then I'm actually gonna brush the surface with a little bit of clear piping gel to give him that sparkle, that BB-8 when he looks into your eyes. You felt it too? Or was that jealousy? There are a few pops of color on BB, so I'm gonna roll out some fondant, cut those little details, and add them to my BB. Yes, he's mine. It's time for the final detail on BB-8's head, which is actually the underneath of his head. Even that's detailed. Lucky for me, the bottom of BB-8's head is actually not flat. So I have to figure out a way to recreate that shape using some cutout foam core and gum paste and more details. Who designed BB-8? I want to congratulate them and get angry at them. You know what I mean? That's how I feel right now. The head and the body are done. We need to bring them together to make BB-8. I begin by cutting a dowel that will be long enough to run through his body and secure his head. I drive that dowel down into his body with the sharpened end up. Now I mark out 4 points around that dowel because I want to add 4 dowels to secure the weight of the head. The first dowel, you want to tell me? You've doweled cakes before? The first dowel holds the 2 cakes together, but the other dowels will support the weight. Now I lay my gum paste covered board with the gum paste facing down, and I use a little bit of royal icing to help glue it on. Finally, I place BB's head on top of this board, again using royal icing in between, and just using a sponge, I just gently press his head down onto that dowel. When measuring your dowel, always cut it a little shorter than your measurement because you don't want it to poke through. Imagine what it broke through that beautiful head. My kingdom in my galaxy will say, Princess Landa is careful and patient. That can't be the sound in the background while I'm doing the Princess Landa pose.
Sorry, I was overwhelmed with
emotion.
Emotion. Thank you.
Okay. BB-8 is assembled and ready for makeup. I mixed some white icing color with base black, base brown, and a little bit of black pearl dust. I apply my paint with a makeup sponge. I trimmed away a bit of the sponge so it would be softer and I wouldn't get any lines. So I dip it in the paint, dab off most of it onto a paper towel, and then dab it onto BB. So I could be a droid makeup artist. What do you think? BB-8 is complete. I feel so proud of him. You know what this is? This is what happens when you've been in 7 movies. You know what I mean? Don't try and talk to me now. No, you're not sorry. If you don't have time to make something with this much detail, check out my Holiday Baking Hacks ebook. There's a link in the description below. I teach you simple, fun recipes that will save you time and taste good and impress all your friends. Yes, I'll bake you some too. And good luck to everyone out there. I can't wait to find out who wins this t-shirt. No, it won't fit you. No, you can't. No. You can't tell. No, I don't care if you leave a comment. When do I have to drop him off again? Thank you.